kill picked up for the Corki, and Direwolves are looking for the win. And one by one, they fall to the Marines. Double kill for the Cannon. They lose nobody, and Ace Sid. Tally locks them down. Big triple kill for the Varus. Double kill for the Oriana, and the rest of Ascension are going to fall. Gigabyte Marines keep the dreams alive for the GPL. The captain is down and Rampage push towards the base. 3-1 at the end of this finals, and they are the champions of Rift Rivals 2017.
Hello and welcome to the 2018 League of Legends Rift Rivals, brought to you by Event Cinemas and housed here in the beautiful, magnificent, opulent, gorgeous State Theatre in Sydney, Australia. Over the next 4 days, we are going to watch the top players from Oceania, Japan and Southeast Asia duke it out to see who gets to dominate the Rift and who gets to take home this old girl. Of course, this culminates on Thursday evening for our live grand final here at the State Theatre, and there are only a couple of tickets left. So if you want your chance to be part of history, head to ticketmaster.com.au. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the show with what happened last time for Rift Rivals. Rift Rivals, the tournament that sees regions from around the world break off into grudge matches, is on its way to Sydney come July. The top teams from Southeast Asia, Oceania, and the current champions Japan will once again battle it out to see who really rules the Rift. Let's take a look at what happened previously on Rift Rivals Pacific Rift. The first Rift Rivals was held in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and saw 9 teams, 3 from each region, having a good old fit. In the group stage, Japan came out absolutely swinging, taking down both Oceania and Southeast Asia in dominant fashion. By this stage, Japan had broken through to the grand final, leaving Oceania and Southeast Asia to trade blows in a King of the Hill style semi-final. Things look good for Oceania, with the third seed team Sin Gaming single-handedly KOing Southeast Asia's first 2 teams. But everything changed for Southeast Asia when Gigabyte Marines stepped up to the plate. While Juves, the 6'5", 600 IQ alpha male, may have managed to outsmite Levi.
But it's still Juves already in there. Levi jumps in. Does he get it? Taken away by Juves. But big team fight coming out of Gigabyte Marines. They lose nobody.
The last hope for Southeast Asia proved too strong, defeating Oceania again, and again, and again, carrying their team all the way to the grand final. It wasn't go Osh anymore, it was goodbye Osh and hello Japan! On the final day, everything was on the line. The stakes were high and Japan continued to show their dominance with superior performances from DFM and USG. Once again, it came down to Gigabyte Marines to hold for Southeast Asia, turning the tide on Rampage in Game 3. But Japan weren't done yet, and Rampage launched straight back into the fight in Game 4 with an early double kill putting them in the lead. Through superior objective control, Rampage were able to slowly but surely overpower the Marines. With a charming rip see ya to Oceania and Southeast Asia, Japan became the new champions of the Pacific Rift. Rift Rivals returns July 2nd to 5th, live to you from the State Theatre in Sydney. Will Japan maintain their title, or will Oceania or Southeast Asia beat down the best? Grab tickets from Ticketmaster to find out.
Hello and welcome to Rift Rivals 2018. My name is Jake Hitframe Matthews and I am joined here on the caster desk by Jake Spawn Tiberi and Bryce E. Jim Paul. Gentlemen, welcome.
I am welcome. You know, this time Rift Rivals, it is in Sydney, it is in Australia. Last one, Vietnam, and Japan got to win, but bringing it back to OS, and I'm feeling good for the boys.
Yeah, and I just feel real short, to be honest. Like, I'm standing behind this desk, and it nearly comes up to chest height. I think I will get some tippy-toe action as the day goes on and, you know, just try and tower above.
We'll get you a little book or something to stand
on.
on.
I actually need a big book to stand on.
Little apple crate, you know, like something bigger than a book. Like,
all right, cool.
Come on.
Do you have yellow pages out here in Australia?
We certainly do have yellow pages.
Yeah,
no one really uses them.
Use one of those. Well, let's have a look at our first game of the day coming up here at Rift Rivals. It will be the Chiefs from Australia taking on Destination Focus Me from Japan. Gentlemen, as you are the regional experts on the Chiefs, talk to me.
Yeah, exactly right. There's going to be a lot of history between these two teams. In fact, the Chiefs have played Detonation Focus Me going back as far as 3 years when you were on the Chiefs Esports Club lineup, Bryce. This was one of the actual matches that there was only a couple of them would actually go in Oceania's favour.
Ooh.
And there was a lot of love, actually, between these two teams. You know, lots of traded jerseys, lots of good times, lots of photos after the event. So wondering to see if that healthy banter stays around.
That's the thing. I feel like Oceania and Japan have always got along. I actually have DFM's coach Kazu. I had one of his jerseys. You know, back in the day we traded Chiefs and DFM, like long history there.
Did you bring it though?
No, I forgot.
Well, let's have a look at our first team here. Detonation from Japan. In the top lane is going to be Mimic. Only is the jungler. Claire is in the mid lane. Raiden Decoy in the bot lane, and their coach Kazoo.
Yeah, and that's absolutely wrong. That's Legacy's roster.
Okay.
So their lineup is Evie, Steel, Ceres, Utapod, and Vivid. Kazu is their coach. And this is a squad that has, in Split 1, gone 10-0 throughout the LJL. They did fall down to Rampage 03, rebranded as Pentagram, of course. However, this is a lineup that really were the favourites coming in, and now Split 2 have started off in the exact same position.
They absolutely have. Currently, they're 4-0. 2 series. They're only 2 weeks into the split, whereas Oceania is 4, but they've got double 2-0 victories under their belt. They look really good, and I feel like they're probably one of the most versatile teams coming from Japan to this game here.
And it's also really important to note that they already have taken out their first seed as well in week number 1 of the LJL, already taken away from Pentagram as well. Of course, we have to go through the Chiefs Esports Club lineup as well. It is going to be Swiper in the top lane, Babip is their jungler, Ryoma their mid laner, Raisin Destiny make up the 2 halves of their bottom lane, and Doric is their coach.
Daruk, you know, Chiefs.
From
brand
the UK.
new coach. Yeah, he is coming from international. Hasn't spent too much time with the team in-house, in-game, you know what I mean? Like, did a lot of that work from overseas, but now coming into Oceania, has been living in the gaming house with the team. Now first international event.
And this is a Chiefs squad that, you know, also had a very promising Split 1. You have to remember that no Spooks, no Swiffer, no Ejim at the start of this year. The legendary lineup was blown up, one of the longest standing lineups. They only kept Swiper and Raze. They brought in 3 people with very limited experience and still emerged as one of the top teams in the region.
And that's the thing. They made it to the grand final. They made it all the way there versus the Dials. They were 2 games up in the grand final and got reverse swept. That's disastrous, but for such a young team, bringing in so many new players, like to get, for an organization that has had a lot of success historically, to get that back with a young roster bodes so well.
I think for both of these teams, there's a lot to prove here. You know, Detonation went undefeated in the regular split in spring, and then they lost in the finals to Pentagram, and then Chiefs as well. You still got a lot to prove here. They're currently 2nd over here in the OPL, so you know, there's a lot on the line for both of these teams. They're the 2nd seeds coming out of both of their regions, arguably the strongest from both of their regions as well. You have to see whether or not they can actually do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when you have a look at these 2 teams and how they do shape up, I think there are some serious mismatches across the board. So a lot of their players, not even as a team, but on the individual level, will want to be stepping up and trying to prove something here, especially in the top lane.
And that's the thing. I think the top lane is where we need to focus here. Evie from Detonation Focus Me. He is an absolute monster. Was known as like a Tom Kench guy. I feel like Swiper's first ever game was against Evie's Tom Kench at All-Stars a couple of years back, and he got absolutely demolished. I remember coming back and he was talking personally to me, being like, man, this guy is insane. And for the Chiefs, Swiper seems to be the current weak point, you know? Like in their last week, they did lose that series 0-2, and so he's really going to have to elevate his game, taking it up to Evie.
Yeah, absolutely, because the Chiefs started off this split number 2, in such emphatic fashion. They had 3 2-0s. First on the ladder, then they ran up to the new look Tectonic in the OPL. They fell down. A lot of that was Tectonic's top laner in Paprise, absolutely taking over the map and shutting down Swiper. He is, as we call him, the rock in the top. He's someone that is a big vocal player for the team. He is the most experienced member by an absolute mile. And I think that he does need to be able to stand tall to give his bottom lane a chance to be able to take over this map.
Absolutely, but if you flip the coin, talking about veterancy and Swiper, I feel like Seros is one of the most veteran players just ever. DFM over the years have made a ton of roster changes in every role but mid. He has been here for so long. He's just iconic in the Japanese scene, and then he's joined by the likes of someone like Utapon. And given a patch like this that can be so messy, having an ex-top laner in the AD carry position, I feel like could bode very well.
So as we approach Picks and Bans, gentlemen, I want to see where you think the attention's going to be, because you know you've said for Seros in the mid for Detonation, that is one of their real strong points, and then you got Swiper in the top lane, where you know maybe some questions could be raised. Where do you think the focus is going to go into Picks and Bans?
I mean, I think it really depends. I think that on this current patch, you don't actually pick and ban all that much for your opponent. I think it was what you want to play. Like, have you got high priority on Aurelia? You might want to take Yasuo or something like that off the occasion. Do you like to play tank top lane as well? Maybe get rid of Aatrox, get rid of Darius, because they will shut it down.
Because it's not to mention, this is on patch 8.13. This is the first look we're getting at it. We've seen a lot of 8.11, 8.12, but these teams haven't had too much time, and when teams haven't had too much time with a patch, that's when everybody has different ideas on what's strong, and we'll see what's changed coming into today.
Well, so far we've had Zoe, Camille, and Heimerdinger banned away. That's going to be a Nocturne, followed up by the Chiefs.
And once again, we do know that Utapon plays absolutely everything in the bottom lane carry role. Can't really call it AD anymore. And they do not want Raze and Destiny to be perpetually shoved underneath that turret. Destiny actually is one of the busiest supports in Oceania.
Yep.
Likes to get out of lane, likes to be a big playmaker. So that is a very clever ban.
Yeah, I mean, they've called themselves the most aggressive bottom lane in the OPL.
Angry was the word that was used yesterday.
Oh, that is...
I was taken out for some chicken by you guys.
Yeah.
And it's not like angry in a negative sense. It's just a step above aggression, and it's just anger.
You just want to get in the game, you know. He likes picking the Alistar, likes picking the Rakan. He is the man that engages a lot of team fights for Chiefs. Swiper, of course, as he's actually just going to hover the iconic Big Swift Tryndamere. But he is the other engaged tool for this lineup.
Well, they picked themselves Morgana here for Destination Focus Me. That could be to play around the fact that Destiny likes to play these high engaged supports, so a bit of the Black Shield, a bit of denial.
It's also just like the biggest Japanese pick at the moment. They will pick it and throw it into the support position. They also can flex it around. Morgana also sets up some funneling comps. It's just a very versatile pick right now, so makes a lot of sense.
And it can, yeah, as you mentioned, just be played in so many roles. What's interesting to me is Chiefs actually taking away the Swain, because that's something that we see in the OPL have not too much priority, barring last week. We haven't really seen it at all, whereas in the LJL, highly prioritized, can go mid, can go into the marksman, the bottom lane position, but Chiefs now just going to take it away.
Yeah, partnering it with a lot of CC as well from the Sejuani. These two picks just synergize incredibly well. Chiefs also are one of the teams that will play Sejuani support if they run double bruiser, so very important to point that out.
And that is a filthy combination locked in by Destination there. They've got themselves the Trundle and then the Mundo. Trundle naturally counters out the Mundo, so you just pick yourself two very, very strong picks. You do show your hand early where you're going jungle, but even so, that's a strong lineup.
Not to mention, it's just the best pick into Sejuani. Sejuani, Aftershock, plus her passive. If you get rid of the ultimate onto her before she has those, you know, if she has been tagged, then she just falls into negative resistances and becomes a little bit of a poor tank in the front line. So always something that people do like to play into her.
And it's something to think about in terms of what you draft for the rest of your composition. Because if you draft a solo tank into a Trundle, knowing full well that is up and available, Chiefs had 3 bans, chose not to throw it at the Trundle. So something like the Swain, which is a tankier mage, something like the Tahm Kench, buffing up, making the rest of your lineup tankier as well, means the Trundle doesn't have such an easy time picking a target.
Well, we're looking into ban phase 2. Vel'Koz and Lucian have been removed from the board. Vel'Koz was actually played quite a lot mid by the Japanese teams. Seros especially really likes
Seros is a Vel'Koz player, he's a Zillion player, he's an Anivia player, he plays
GP
all
player
the
back in the
weird,
day.
plays all the real weird niche mid laners. And the thing is, if you don't have experience against them and you're playing against someone that is a master, you want to get rid of it because you don't want to risk in a best of one falling down to something that you just do not have experience in.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially when you talk about the Chiefs, they play through their middle lane so much. But Bip, this is going to be his first international event against different opponents. He's played domestically in the OPL, but this is going to be a big test, and Chiefs rely on him to play that super aggressive style with Ryoma on a counter pick in the mid lane to get their advantages early.
And the success domestically against the Chiefs has been when people attack Babip and Ryoma, try and set them behind. They are young players, they are prone to tilt. They get very emotional. So I like to see the fact that they are giving them some safety in this draft.
Well, we're seeing a Kled get locked in by the Chiefs. This now completely shakes up quite a lot. They can send that Swain mid. They can send it bot lane still. Top lane are definitely locked in for Chiefs. And now Destination looking to answer back. What are they going to be able to pick up here? Hovering that Vladimir for the moment. Makes a lot of sense. Very, very versatile.
Yeah, absolutely. It could go mid, it could go bot. They obviously have Trundle, Jungle, Mundo top, but in the bottom lane, you have double mage against something like the Tahm Kench. You want that priority with the Vladimir, with the Morgana. It's a pretty safe bottom lane across the board, I think, if these two compositions. I'm expecting Swain to most likely go in the bottom lane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kled we haven't seen in a very long time, but is a very swiper champion.
I think we saw it last night in one of the regions as well, played into this exact matchup Mundo.
Okay.
So just has a lot of bully potential. We always say that Mundo needs a couple of levels to get rolling, and then up until level 9 pretty safe, and then you can dominate the lane. Kled pushes into him, scales very well, and is hard engaged. We already mentioned the fact that the Chiefs need a hard engaged top laner, and Swiper has given them one of the best up there from the Kled.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when Babip doesn't traditionally play tanks like Sejuani and things like that. He is not the primary engaged player, not the champion, but the player for the Chiefs, so to pick that in another role makes a lot of sense. Of course, we see the Aurelia lock in as well, so that's basically team composition locked in for DFM. You assume it's going to be going to the mid lane, but oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
That will,
Well, I actually don't know where anything's going right now. I guess that might be a Varus. No, it can't be a Varus mid. That'd
Varus
be really...
80 carry.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's been a while since we've seen the Varus mid.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was really interesting because obviously they banned away Yasuo to have Yasuo or Aurelia left up and available.
Yep.
So Chiefs prioritized counter pick in the mid lane when they were still holding the flex, as opposed to taking Aurelia and then Kled, because Kled was not going to see any priority out of Detonation Focus Me. So really valuing that counter pick. I also want to mention the fact that Kled synergizes really well with Sejuani.
Yeah.
Sejuani can come through lane. As long as Bear Trap on a rope lands and you start getting some auto attacks in, you're guaranteed a stun just from Sejuani's passive. And that's why we've seen it played so much with Melee mid laner, Melee top laner, international.
And not to mention, you were the one telling me about how quickly these compositions can do Baron. When you have auto attackers with a Sejuani, of course 8.12 I think it was the change that made the Sejuani E proc just constantly doesn't go on cooldowns against monsters. And when you have a traditional AD carry in the bottom lane, instead of something like the Morgana, like the Vladimir, then it's just even better.
Now, gentlemen, you've seen the picks and bans, you've seen the rosters so far. I'm going to ask you a very tough question here. Who do you think has the edge in this first game?
The thing about Australians is we're just biased as all hell. So we're going to say Chiefs every single
answer,
time. So you could have asked us before, after Champions. Like, they could lose and you could ask us who we think's going to win. And we would probably still say the Chiefs. But at the same time, I like what Detonation Focus Me has done. I like the fact that they're the experienced lineup going into this. They do have the veterans. And I think the young Chiefs lineup will be pushed here.
Yeah, and I think it's super interesting to see the Chiefs go back to a traditional AD carry. Obviously, these two teams coming from their two regions into this tournament, I think are the most familiar with the 8.11, the 8.12 Bruiser compositions, and the fact that Chiefs have played things like the Ziggs, like the Ornn in the bottom lane, now going up against Udapon and DFM, they're just going back to standard AD carry.
And maybe it is because they've played so much of it. They played double funneling. They did play some wacky compositions. They feel the best way to start off a big inter-regional event is to be on comfort and know how to play the picks you have.
Well, we've loaded through onto the Summoner's Rift for the first game of Rift Rivals 2018 down here in the Pacific Rift. And no shenanigans to start the game. Everyone's just going to get that defensive line set up across the map.
Yeah, well, to be honest, both of the teams level 1 suck.
Yep.
Morgana's okay, Swain's okay, and the rest of the champions are just absolutely horrible.
Yeah,
so they don't want to go anywhere near each other.
Swain doesn't want to be leveling the root. You know, Tom Canch, all he's got is that tongue lash. So pretty standard across the board. Both teams right now kind of fighting over the double dot bush wards. That's sort of just become the meta from now. You want to see which jungler gets to what scuttle crab, and if you get double scuttled, it can put you so far behind.
And it's funny that you say Swain doesn't want to level the root, because when we see Swain played in the bottom lane, we actually see a lot of Swains go root first. It actually does a lot of damage to creeps. Obviously, the pass through on the rip on the way back, especially if you've got a Targon's user. Obviously, this is going to be a mid Swain, so he's not going to take it for harass purposes.
You just want to be able to shove the way. Probably going to start with that Q there as top side start for the Chiefs, but Trundle's still sticking around.
Yeah, certainly is. They're going to go for a late invade.
Let's see if anything's going to come from this. Evian still making their way up towards this red buff.
They don't know.
Has spotted out Babip now, and Swiper just looking to zone them off, and it looks like Detonation are just going to go straight for this. Swiper loses a lot of his health, and still is going to be able to quite happily steal this away.
And I'm pretty surprised that they didn't actually continue the chase there. Swiper, of course, when you fall off the horse, Kled goes back into mini form. He would have had to burn the flash. They have constant Mundo cleavers. Trundle has a slow as well. They were in melee range and they opted to go back for the buff instead of chasing the summoner or the kill.
And this is why you need to drop the ward early if you are going to. A pixel brush wards are something that we've spoken about a lot. No sweeper was started, so they wouldn't have been able to get rid of it. Now Trundle is in complete fog of war. They don't know whether he started up the Scuttle Crab, whether he's sticking to the jungle, whether he's behind Swiper. It's going to cause a lot of question marks for the Chiefs.
And I feel like mid lane priority is just going to be so important in terms of Babip being able to answer on the other side of the map. If that Aurelia gets a good trade on the mid lane onto the Swain, Ryoma falls low, all of a sudden Steel can just go into his bot side jungle and be completely safe down there. And there's potential that Babip gets Scuttle Crab and 3 buff.
And what's also really good about that is Swiper lost half his health before this even started, so Evi's just had priority in lane for the moment, which gave Steel just complete safety to farm out the jungle.
Yeah. And of course, we're going to see no teleport taken on Ryoma. Is a combat summoner, Fiend. So we'll be going with the Ignite. So not really going to be much relief on this side of the map for the Chiefs.
An interesting point though is Udapon actually went for the Ignite and he also went for the Predator. So we don't have a TP on the Vladimir, and traditionally in the bot lane you see the Electrocute because you have a support to set up the play. Morgana, she has CC. Normally you just go for the straight damage of the domination tree, but in this instance he wants the move speed.
Yeah, absolutely. He wants to be able to get into the back line a little bit more easily.
I mean, it makes sense when you have a mobile carries. Varus does not have a dash versus something super meta like the Lucian, things like that. Swain doesn't have a dash either, but
They're going for Swiper underneath the turret. He does not have his Kled back in time, and still tanks up the tower. Evie is gifted that first blood.
However, might pick up a return kill. No, nice potion use. However, Babbitt now should be able to
he's
get
coming
it.
over. We're up for winter
very
flashes.
nice prediction, of course.
Oh, that was so close.
Barely.
Still managed to duck and dive his way out there, though.
He made the wrong decision initially, just went straight over the wall. If he just walks into the tri-bush, then potentially he picks up that kill, but unfortunately, dashes over, then has to flash, and the pillar just buys him some time.
And his ward is like 3 seconds off cooldown right now, so would have just been able to walk in as well. I mean, when you have a look at how that play was set up, it's just all we've been talking about. Swiper gets chunked out level 1. Back at the turret, not able to push out because he's Kled. And they just pick on him time and time again.
And Mundo is one of those tanks that if he gets through the early lane phase, if he gets his items and you're a carry or even like a pseudo carry like Kled, he's pretty tanky, but he does a whole lot of damage and really wants to be winning lane. If Mundo gets super far ahead, he goes from like killable to unkillable incredibly quick.
Now, you guys were saying that, you know, the top was the weakness for Chiefs. So the bot lane and their mid lane duo with the jungle are where their strengths start to come. But at the moment, bot's pretty even in CS at the moment. You are going to see them obviously catch this wave here, but no major advantages gained yet.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to win a lane with a Tahm Kenji Varus between the levels 1 and 3. So they're just going to look to scale up. They're going to look to be big team fight presence. Potentially get around Summoner's Rift, you know, with the Tahm Kench Global.
They certainly have like a level 6 composition. Sejuani wants to get that ulti. Kled needs that ulti to actually engage and TP flank in any respect. Tahm Kench Abyssal Void, you can make some nice macro plays. Once all of these champions get to level 6, then Chiefs really have options. But I really like that DFM came into this game with a plan. That late invade was scouted out. They maybe look at Chiefs VODs and go, why don't they ward the top bush in the river? All of a sudden, they get that late invade, put Babbitt behind on their Sejuani, and then Chiefs don't have an early game.
Yeah, and the other big thing is, whilst all the shenanigans were happening, Ryoma actually had to burn Flash.
Yep.
So not going to be available in the mid lane anymore.
Do see Evie does have his flash in that top, so he didn't have to use that. Swiper does still hold his flash, so he didn't try to like get away from that first blood.
He just died. It was like a press the attack, the cleaver and melee range. He just absolutely got chomped by the Trundle.
I mean, the big thing is that when you fall off Skull as Kled, you have no movement speed. You're actually the slowest champion in the game by an
like
absolute
half
mile.
a dash with the buckshot, but that's it.
So you just have nothing. So there's no point flashing there. They're just going to chase you. He was like underneath his turret.
He was in between the turret and the wall, like the tiniest bit. There's nowhere for him to go. But the interesting thing in terms of the mid flash is Aurelia is one of those champions, as she actually did get a little bit of a nerf in terms of her burst damage on patch 8.13, but she's one of those champions that needs to have priority and needs to have kill threat to actually be useful. So the fact that Ryoma has the range advantage, now falling 20 CS in a hole because he feels like he can't step up against that champion, because if he gets all in, he immediately dies.
6 minutes on the board, gold lead. Quite handily in the favor of Detonation, and as you can see at the moment, they're stepping forward into the jungle, trying to place some wards down, trying to get some vision control of Chiefs and see, and just track where Babbitt's going, because for the moment, Babbitt is constantly hanging around this top side, wants to try and get Swiper back in this.
And this is the thing, is Ryoma and Babbitt are a strength for the Chiefs normally domestically. However, you were going up against so much experience in Seros and Steel. So that's why I was very skeptical about whether this game was going to go in their favor, because this is the first time, really, the young jungler of the Chiefs would have been pushed to this level in such a high-pressure situation.
Steel's fully aware of the timer of this red buff. See if Babbitt wants to try and contest this. You can see in mid, Seros is pushing that wave in. Same with Evie, so there's just no backup for Babbitt, and he's just going to lose another red buff.
And they're just suffocating the top side of the map. Ryoma actually went bot side to place that pink and dot bush, and then all of a sudden Babbitt potentially in a 3v1, lane priority in mid, in top for DFM, so very easy red Steel taken away, and he's just constantly on the backhand of Steel, just constantly being invading that top side and now just building DFM leads.
And I wonder when we do see the early lane swap coming out, do they wait for the level 6 to send Tahm Kench as well as the Varus top lane, try and cheat some tempo, maybe pick up a kill and then try and force down a turret, because right now it is not going in their favor.
Absolutely, especially with like an Ocean Drake spawning on the bottom side. Like, you don't care all that much. It's nothing like an Infernal or an Earth, but also I feel like teams that just sack a lane and then lane swap to try and get some global gold to match, you either do that or you don't, and there's very few teams that sit anywhere in the middle, and Chiefs are one of the teams. They've shown that domestically they are happy to make that decision, so I wouldn't be surprised when Destiny hits that level 6 marks for that to happen.
We're also seeing Raze build towards that Blade of the Ruined King. So he's obviously looking to try and get that kind of health percent shred on as quick as possible so they can deal with Evie before he becomes that unstoppable monster you hit on earlier on.
I mean, I think that it's just the whole composition, right? Trundle is going to probably go for Cinder Hulk into something like a Zeke's Convergence, even Vladimir, fairly tanky as a mage. They're just going to have a lot of HP across the board.
Not to mention the Guinsoo's nerf on this patch is pretty substantial. Yeah. Any actual AD carry that was played prior to this patch, they're all Guinsoo's builders. The Kai'Sa, the Varus, things like that, and all of a sudden you now have the Varus once again, but he's going for the Bork because you lost a substantial amount of damage per stat.
Do you think he'll pick that Guinsoo's up later? Or do you think it's just going to get completely ignored at this point?
I mean, there's two ways you could probably go. You could probably go for Blade of the Ruined King into a Zeal item, into Infinity Edge. Infinity Edge, I still think, is an incredibly good item. It's expensive, don't get me wrong. Everyone's going to start flaming me. But, I mean, there has been a lot of teams internationally that have started to slowly go back to, you know, things like Zyra Khan, things like the Ashe even, and they have found success with them.
And that's the thing, right? It only takes like a few people in the major regions to start playing crit AD carries, go Storm Razor, things like that, and the new items just bleed in, and all of a sudden the meta could completely change. But this is DFM setting up the top side.
They've even got Seros on the way up. Evie goes straight in. In comes Babbitt with the Glacial Prison, trying to get him down. He can't get it. The Vanguard Edge gets thrown out, and that's going to be one. Answered straight onto the side of Detonation. Ryoma's in the fight, and he's managed to get the Chiefs their first kill. Evie's on the run as he's got a cleaver, but I don't think he's going to be able to get out of here as Destiny flashes and tongue lashes after him. Ryoma should be gifted the kill, and he fries him to death.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 kills picked up for the Chiefs Esports Club right there. Ryoma 30 CS down, but does get the Chiefs on the board. Meanwhile, however, bottom lane.
Vivid with the flash, instantly flashed out by Raze though.
And he gets himself to safety, as does the top side of Chiefs. That was such a nice read. Destiny going back to base.
Oh, they're going in! Hemoplague's down, Raze is ignited, and Raze is popped down. Nice and simple.
Absolutely did. Burnt the flash earlier. Very nice repeat from Vivid. Of course, as soon as he gets onto the Varus, no ability to escape. Very nice pick up there. And just trading back on the other side of the map, that's what you expect. They go top side, look for something, and they find Destiny. It was a numbers mismatch for the Chiefs, and they picked up a bunch of kills, so immediately the bottom lane from DFM just go in.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think the thing that really is impressive there is the no hesitation. Vivid instantly flashes on Raze. He gets a respect flash out, but as soon as Raze reapproaches a wave, Utapon just is immediately on top of him, dumps all the spells. There's nothing that Destiny can do to save his AD carry because Raze thinks that Destiny's in range at that point.
He was walking to the wall. He wanted to get eaten by the Tahm Kench, trying to get back, but of course, as we saw, hit the top side with a flash lick, so no ability for the Tahm Kench to close that distance, and Raze just falls down.
Now Seros got himself a pretty big lead over Rydona. But Ryoma has obviously got himself 2 kills, so gold should be relatively even for the moment.
Yeah, now he's still very far behind. I mean, 30 CS on the current patch. He's about to pick up another 5 underneath the turret. Ryoma probably is not looking to go anywhere near the earlier spiking Aurelia, especially given the fact Flash is still back up and available.
He just wants to keep that stopwatch for as long as possible. He just wants to sit mid, like no gangs coming his way. No pillars from the Trundle, just wants to be able to sit there, sustain, because he's always going to have that one-button threat where if you try and dive as Swain, he has all that healing that he used to. You go into the stopwatch, you can survive and potentially turn that around, especially with a collapse that Chiefs do have. We saw them use it topside, but Raze still has TP. Kled is so quick rotating down, especially with that ultimate. Sejuani can lock people down, so despite the lead for Seros, it's hard to force onto Ryoma in the mid.
And look, Raze is on his way up towards that top side. It feels like they're not 100% certain on whether or not they're going to send him there or not yet. But he is grouped up with Babbitt and has got Destiny hot on his heels. So looks like they're actually just going to try and go for a 4-man dive. But Evie looks to have read that play.
And this is just the sack we were talking about earlier. The bottom lane, no flash for Raze, no flash for Destiny. They just back away from the play. They know eventually DFM are going to come down here. They're going to take the turret. And there's nothing they can do about it. There's no way for them to defend, so they read the play. They go top. As you mentioned, very nice read from Evie, though. A lot of top laners just sit under that turret. You die to the Tahm Kench ulting in. He just backs away, farms up a bit of the jungle, tries to get a little bit of vision, and DFM answer on the other side of the map.
But the Chiefs do see this as a 2-for-1. They see the fact that they gave up first brick, but they took top lane turret, and as well as probably mid here. But good read from Detonation Focus Me, actually pushed through on the play.
But this is a big play coming out of the Chiefs. Raze TPing down. They have a missile voice from Tahm Kench.
This is got 3-on-3 for the moment. We
Kled
do
ulti
also have Ryoma coming
available.
through. Vision of Empire comes out, great binding from Vivid just to dissuade them for a little bit, but here comes the charge, followed up by all of the CC. We're going to see Yapon on the bottom of the screen, but that's just going to be one deleted straight out. It's Steel who's dead, and Vivid's next to follow. 2 kills to the Chiefs.
And that's just a great read from the Chiefs. As we said, the macro play is there. They notice the overextension, the greed for the second turret, and they will punish with 2 kills and a turret of their own.
And not to mention they're even getting more. Because they got the Rift Hole, they now get to drop that bot. The turret trade did go in favor of DFM, and now they're taking bot unanswerable. Seros is down, he has Flash, he has Ignite, but 1 versus 3, there's nothing you can do.
We just have to keep in mind that Destination actually don't really have a massive amount of wave clear, like solid, reliable wave clear without getting inside the wave. And Chiefs can always punish them when they're sieging in these situations.
Yeah, Chiefs wave clear kind of sucks as well, and they are on the back foot. Not to mention the fact if you got a Mundo and you got a Vladimir, you're probably just looking to dive onto the back line.
If Binding lands, if Aurelia stun lands, just makes it so easy, especially when you have the Trundle ultimate. It's all about that 1 burst. You have the Spellbinder from Utapon. I want to see, actually, he's just going for the straight damage builders. We're going to take another look at this play in the bot side. Tahm Kench ulti obviously cheated a little bit of tempo, brought Babip over. It was a nice bind from Vivid here to kind of delay the play, but as soon as Swiper's in range, he starts using the ultimate, but the big flank from Ryoma comes in on the back.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about Ryoma is at this stage of the game, he's unkillable unless you invest resources into him. And if they just had a turnaround, still had the stopwatch available, you're not going to take him down in time. So Utapon does sacrifice his support so he can live. Probably the best play they could have hoped for.
Looks like they're trying to keep this tempo going, though, for the side of DFM, looking to push up into this mid lane, try and open up this first turret here in the mid.
Yeah, because as we said, it's a press R comp out of the Chiefs. So if Swiper hasn't got it, if Raze hasn't got it, if they're not in a numbers mismatch at this stage of the game, they're going to lose the fight. So Detonation Focus Me know all the ults were just burnt. So let's make our proactive play now.
And it makes a lot of sense, especially with this sort of composition. You talked about the lack of siege. Opening up the map, breaking down that mid-outer just means Ryoma doesn't have that extra layer of safety. If you can get an Aurelia, a shove in the mid lane, you can rotate to the side lane. It's so difficult for Chiefs to deal with.
Blade the Ruin King has now been finished up on Raze. Got himself double dagger, so it looks like he will be building towards that Zeal item.
Could be Ginsu's.
Yeah, could actually be a Ginsu's. I said that and then was like, yeah.
Could honestly be anything.
No.
Could be Zerka, Greaves, Stormraiser or something weird as well. Like, really does have the world open to him right now. Chiefs, we do have to point out, in the OPL are the 20-minute team fight into Baron team. So interested to see if they start holding and trying to get vision of this area to force a 5v5 in an early swing.
And it's not to mention Chiefs are like currently in control of the map as the side lanes are being answered by DFM, but when they don't have those big buttons, when they don't have the ultimates available, DFM still have the gold lead. They still have Aurelia on that Trinity Force spike. Spellbinder almost at 100 stacks. Like, if they get an engage, Evie has his first item. He's incredibly tanky versus Swiper in the top side. They can actually just make something happen almost immediately.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see whether Raze actually goes something like maybe a Wit's End. Because my concern for the Chiefs right now is if Utapon gets on top of Raze and Destiny isn't next to him, then he will instantly die. So, you know, something like Wit's End Mercury Treads was something we used to see a lot old school builds on things like Kog'Maw, like Varus, and could potentially be useful here.
It's absolutely the throwback. Go back to the old school build.
On-hit's very good versus tanks as well. You know, if you do decide to go into this on-hit build, it does take a little bit more time to get going, but
League of Legends are actually flashing from Vivid.
Vivid's gone in, he's managed to get 4 people with the ultimate. It's only going to connect onto 2. A great pillar from Steel. Make sure that happens. Evie's in with the ultimate, but that was a massive Hemo Blade! A charge is coming through, and that's going to be 1 already in the side of Detonation. It's a 2-for-2 fight already. Destiny's forced to flash out, and he gets taken down. It's a triple kill onto the Aurelia, and he's still going. He's still hungry for more. Ryoma's going to go down. It's not quite the Quadra yet, but he looks like he's going to be able to get it. He's shut down! And they've turned it back around. It looks like Swiper will be on the run for the moment, and I don't think they're going to be able to chase him anymore. Although he's turning onto Steel now. He's going to be able to pick himself up one, and Vivid needs to be very, very careful.
And that's exactly what we were just talking about. Vivid takes the play into his own hands on the Morgana. You don't see that from supports very often, but with the stopwatch, he gets the enormous engage. The collapse comes immediately. TP's already channeled, and everyone just rocks up into the mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely. However, at the same time, they're still fighting against the Swain, who controls areas so well. I mean, this is a great start to the fight. As you mentioned, they are very early, but the Chiefs respond very well. And if this Hemo Plague wasn't as big, the Chiefs actually wipe this team fight. Utapon survives for such a long time, gets off so much damage. And Swiper and Ryoma are honestly unkillable nearly at this stage of the game, especially without Ignites available.
Because Seros comes from the left pretty late. He gets onto the backside, but now he's over the wall and prioritizes the Tahm Kench. And this whole time, the rest of Chiefs members are just sitting there whacking away. Unfortunately, they're trying to pick up the end kill. It's not to be. Played one of those super annoying champions. Gets back onto Skull and just takes down a cheeky Trundle.
And I mean, that's 4 for 4.
Yep.
With the proactive play coming out of Detonation Focus Me, that was actually a gold swing slightly for the Chiefs, and so much was burnt. So showing the game that even though the gold lead is there, still very close.
And all of those kills, as we mentioned, went onto Ryoma. Now the mid laners are absolutely popping off in comparison to the rest of the map. Of course, huge Hemo play out of Udipon that fight, now has no flash, so his access onto the backline, Raze is just praying that that doesn't happen once again. No flash, he's so immobile.
And the gold lead is 1,000. And all of that is really held on the jungle right now. And I would argue that Sejuani, at this stage of the game, is close to 1,000 gold, better than Trundle if she can just stay alive and melee champions can stun everyone. She's just like, she's a 5-man stun.
If waiting to happen.
Yeah, if Kled stays alive in these team fights because of the fact that he just procs the passive so quickly.
And it's interesting because you don't really want to prioritize hitting the Kled in these fights. Like, Swain's going to be up in your grill. He wants to get to that Zhonya's, and then he's just unignorable. And as DFM, you want to dive onto the Varus, and then you just have this super annoying Kled just whacking away, stunning you constantly with the Sejuani. So prioritization of targets is just super important for DFM.
Ryoma has that Zhonya's as well. So in that fight, when you do think he can get him, he just pops the Zhonya's. He's still in the ultimate, so he'll still get healed as well. It can be really, really hard to cut down the Swain. And it does look like it's going to get harder and harder for DFM as we do move later. But you've got to keep in mind they still have that Mundo. They still have the ability to use the Subjugate on Babip and shred him down. Have to see whether or not they can actually do that.
I was super interested to see what the Dragon is, because of course it will be the Infernal now, because this is just the classic ARAM coming out of both teams. No side lanes have TP. The only one available on the map is on the Varus, and he doesn't want to just go split push, so everybody prioritizing this Dragon, and they all want to fight 5v5 over it.
You can see Swiper is on the flank, however, he's standing on top of a ward. Chiefs trying to move in for some form of control over this area. And with flashes down, it's going to be harder for Seros to execute.
Especially in a choke. Varus ulti, you hit someone with a Sejuani, then Varus ulti spreading, things like that. But now, in the opening outside the river.
There's 10 ults apiece ready to go. Dragon, on just under 2,000 HP. Let's see if Steel can steal it away. He can't do so. Babbitt's able to secure it. Ryoma loses half his health. That's going to be an ultimate pulled in. Now Ryoma needs to be a little bit careful as the rest of the team chasing him down. But Yeropon's there. Ryoma throws down that Demonic Ascension, and Evi's forced to ultimate. Chains of Corruption's on. There's going to be a redemption. Radoma able to pick himself up. 1 onto Steel. It's going to be 2 back for the Chiefs. And Australia are starting to come alive. Seros dives straight onto the back and shuts down 2 instantly into a double kill. He's gone in for a triple kill. He's going again, baby. Let's see if he can get any more. Swiper's pumping that damage out. He's just about to get it in time. Can't quite make it happen. And it's not going to be the pentakill, but Destiny is on the run, and this time, DFM win the fight.
And it looks so good for the Chiefs, but it's going to be Seros picking up another kill at the end of this team fight. Actually, no, it's not. Vivid just takes that one for himself, but after they get the Dragon, after they get the initial pick, everything just goes wrong.
And that's the thing, Ryoma spent so much time over the wall just looking for that fight. He looked to get into the backline with the Zhonya's, and as you mentioned, Seros just completely turned it around. Babip burnt the Sedge ulti early in the fight to try and disengage, and then Chiefs changed their mind. You saw Ryoma over the wall. You could see the split second he made the decision to go back in.
Yeah. You said to me that 20-minute team fight and Baron, but this is that 20-minute team fight. They're not going to get a Baron this time, man.
Yeah, absolutely not. And you can see that Ryoma actually goes into ulti, uses the Ignite, and the big thing here is he's going to pop his ultimate like an assassination tool.
Yep.
He is not normally a Swain player, I will say that. And I think that there is the inexperience on the champion. If he stayed in Demonic Ascension the whole team fight, his damage, his survivability would have been so much more, but he popped it for the initial damage.
Look how close Swiper was to getting Skarl back. It was just 1 auto attack away, and that fight could have been very different if he got that little buff to his health bar.
Absolutely, but now you see Seros already completed that Sterax, sitting on the stopwatch as well. There's so much safety now for him. He didn't even have to use Flash in that fight. Now, back up and available. We talked about the 20-minute Chiefs team fight. That's how they like to play. They like to break open the game at a huge team fight, and that time they lost it. DFM, of the LJL teams here at this tournament, I feel like are the most stable. They play the most standard League of Legends. They don't go for these huge, enormous plays. That was Chiefs opting in to a fight that DFM knew they would win, and they turned it around.
Rageblade has been picked up by Raze. Got that Sterix finished up on Seros, and Yudapon's got a death cap second.
I was about to say, honestly, I don't know why we're talking about the Chiefs items, but every single member of Detonation Focus Me has just come online. Spirit Visage, as well as Sterix. Death cap picked up with Boots 2 now for Udipon. He's huge. And I don't really see how they can win a team fight now.
Well, charge got used by Swiper. He actually used it aggressively just to disengage away from Evi.
That's the thing. As soon
Here
as the
comes
one...
Steel.
Ooh, actually. Stun lands.
Yeah, it's got the backup of Babip, so I don't think the DFM are actually going to be able to go for the kill, but they are going to be able to take that turret, and now they're extending the gold lead, 42k to 38k.
Just getting further and further ahead. They go topside, they pick up that turret. That's a nice little bit of extra gold, but they don't really care. It's all about the map positioning. They're setting up around the Baron. You just saw Swiper have to ult away from the Mundo. That is declared into a hard tank of the Mundo, not winning the split push. If he doesn't have TP, which he currently does, but right now he's grouping anyway.
Oh, shenanigans were afoot, Jim, but...
That was funny. Steel actually just knocked him out of that bind. If he didn't use the pillar, Babip would have died. So good guy, Steel. I like it.
Binding.
That
Lands.
binding connected.
Ooh.
Zeros looking to charge the stun up, has managed to get it, but it's not going to throw it down
Oh,
yet.
but
Ryoma
ulti.
with an early ultimate, that's going to be instantly turned around, and that's going to be one for Ryoma for the moment. The Steel now on the run, they're turning onto Udapon. Watch for Zeros on that edge still, has that Vanguard's edge, he's going to throw it down and dive straight into the fight. I don't even know who's winning this at the moment, as Ryoma's managed to find himself a double kill. He's still going for more. They've managed to finally shut down the Aurelia, and this time, Chiefs are the one in command of the fight. They're going to take down Evie. Steel is the only one who remains.
And they keep going for it. They keep looking for the team fight. The Chiefs love the tempo the game is currently being played at. And we mentioned a 20-minute Baron, 24, close enough.
Not that bad. They end up winning the team fight. Their Raze was in such a precarious position. He backed so far away from Seros, the biggest member of this DFM lineup, and all of a sudden, he has to push so far to the backside of Chiefs. He gets taken down, and Chiefs just clean up the fight.
Steel is still around, remember. He has that smite available. Ryoma's taking quite a lot of damage as well.
Doesn't have flash. He's going to actually have to walk into the pit with...
He's waiting for Vivid. He wants that black shield to make sure he can definitely get inside to steal this away. This is very, very close. That's going to be the teleport coming through as well. They're going in. Steel's got that black shield on. Can he get the Steel down? No, he's just deleted. And Chiefs secure themselves the Baron.
That was actually very silly by Steel. There's no way he was going to go for that. Udapon how on the back end.
Swiper's dead. Yep, there's nothing you can play by play there. He just died.
He's just gone. Yeah, Chiefs held that pretty low. You know, got to 2K. Traditionally, you like sit it at 3,000. But Trundle, not the...
But what Trundle burst is coming out?
Yeah, not the most ominous of jungle contests coming out of Steel. You know, just walking up, gets a black shield so they can't be CC, but the damage, as soon as you're in between 5 members, you just instantly die. So they turn around, hit the Trundle, take the Baron.
But the CC meant nothing, because he had no flash, and you can smite through every CC apart from suppression. Yep. So honestly, the black shield was next to useless. He just tried to walk in and steal a Baron. Gave over more gold. However, the kill on Swiper does waste about 30 seconds of tempo that the Chiefs have now.
And that's the thing, right? Chiefs, I feel like Ryoma specifically is the kind of player that does get caught off with the Baron every now and again. Chiefs are the team that aren't super clean when they get this point. There's a lot of standing gold up on the map. Mid-outer is still available. The complete inner ring. So what was a gold lead for DFM? That fight kind of evened it out for Chiefs, but there's still a big swing potential for Chiefs.
Well, that was a big, big swing because they were down about 4k before that fight happened. Now they've got themselves Baron and they managed to get themselves a really good team fight win. They're only down 400 gold now.
And I still think they outscale. I mean, Vladimir is the obvious argument against that. You know, any comp that has a Vladimir is good late game.
Yep.
But I think it's going to be so hard for Vladimir and Mundo, as well as Trundle, to just run through Raze, because he's just going to ult them in choke points. It's going to be so... They've got such a linear engage that if this isn't a huge Udapon flank, I just don't see how they get onto the Chiefs 80 carry late game.
And when you look at these style of team comps, right, at a more general perspective, these styles of team comps, they wanted Banner of Command to help them close out games. That doesn't exist anymore. Without a big lead, you can't be diving onto people past the mid-game. You need that bulkiness to be able to actually just brute force end the game. Chiefs have a traditional 80 carry. They have the siege potential. They can just walk up with a big, beefy front line. They can hit turrets like this, just shepherd in the creeps and make it look so easy.
Well, Evie is actually backing off. He was pushing out that bot lane, so looking to join the rest of his team. There is no flank from Udapon right now.
But the thing is, I was going to say, the thing about Mundo and the thing about Evie is Mundo is one of the best tanks when you're ahead. When you're behind, he actually really doesn't do a whole lot of anything. He just kind of runs around. He does a lot of damage for a tank, but when you're behind, that's not what you really need out of a tank. You need the CC.
It's kind of funny that Swipe is the one to pick up the Executioner's Calling, not Raze on the Varus. It's actually the top laner. So he needs to be getting that tag onto the Vladimir, onto the Dr. Mundo in the back end of these fights, as DFM actually forced Chiefs topside, just looking straight up for mid priority.
Yeah, absolutely. Swiper, of course, bottom lane does not have the Baron buff. Remember, he was a person that got picked, so only Baron on the top side. Pushing through mid lane is quicker. I was going to say Raze still has the E.
True.
So if he just throws out the arrows, hail of arrows, are going to be able to cut away some of the lifesteal.
Chiefs could be getting flanked on here. Steel's going to throw out the pillar.
Here's a
Babbitt
45.
goes straight in. Stun's coming out now. It's going to be a 5v5 as the teleport's coming through. Yadopon is now going to get himself a little bit cut off. It looks like now DFM are all on the run. They're going in. Humoplay comes down as Evie trying to run straight onto that backline. We haven't seen Seros going with Vanguard's Edge. It lands onto absolutely everybody. He's managed to find himself one. It's going to get instantly answered back, and it's a double kill onto the Aurelia. It's a 2-for-2 trade, but DFM are starting to come alive. Or is it Chiefs? Swiper gets Scar back, and Evie now forced to run away with his ADC.
And it was such a split fight. Udapon caught in the blue pit. It looked so good for Chiefs, but CCs go wide. The ultimate from Raze hits absolutely nothing. Vladimir, one of those mages, he's so incredibly annoying. He can live for so long. Has the pool, has the Zhonyas, and they end up making an even trade. Yeah,
both of these teams come pretty annoying. They start again.
Evie's forced to flash out, doesn't have the ultimate quite crucially, and Swiper's going under the tower for the kill. He's able to get it, but Ryoma needs to be careful because Udapon's trying to answer it back, can't quite find it. And now Swiper,
flash available,
chasing him down. Does have that flash.
Does he go?
There's the Vision of Empire. It's going to force him to juke and slow his escape away. Swiper's going in with the Joust, trying to get a bit of damage out, but Udapon, he's pretty scary, man. He does a lot of damage. Ooh, flashes forward. One more auto attack should get the kill, but it looks like he can't quite close it in time. Swiper swipes the kill.
And that is such a risky play. You know, that's a kill you get there. You trade your flash as the Vladimir. That's such an important tool. Very greedy play from Udapon, honestly, that he's going to need to win in the next team fight.
Especially after the fact that you just got everything out of Raze. You burned his flash, you burned his stopwatch, without landing any abilities after Hemoplague. He just Hemoplagued him, and Raze proverbially ran away, very, very scared. So I think that is an overreach after he was away.
And not to mention, everybody had respawned. It's not like that's another pick that you start going towards the mid lane. It's uncontestable. That's a numbers advantage. Chiefs were all back on the map. They were just walking back to the waves. Now, in the 4v5, they just go mid.
Yeah, charge has been sounded.
Looks like they're coming into the fight, going straight into the tower dive. Evie will be the target. He's just locked down and blown up. Seros on the back end with the Vanguard's Edge is going to be forced to retreat out. A pillar is coming out as well, just on the back end, but that's going to be one for Seros. They're chasing him for a little bit more. Raze can pump out a lot of damage. Seros forced to go golden, but there's 5 members of Chiefs on top of him. He gets a stun, but he's forced to use that Resurrect already. And I don't even think DFM can even do anything but watch their mid laner die. That's going to be a Hero Plague onto Destiny. They're trying to keep him alive. They're trying to get that damage down. That actually might be one chance of backers. Now Raze has been delivered over the wall. What is going on? Swiper gets the turret. Destiny's low. Raze has not lost his GA. The binding clips him and gets the shutdown.
And these team fights are just so long. Everyone is so tanky right now. But once again, the Chiefs take the objective. They're going to take the inhibitor, and they will back away.
And it is just barely because of the timing. Udapon did spawn back into that fight. He did get there as the Vladimir, but didn't even have ulti when he landed. Seros goes in to try and buy some time for the rest of DFM, but that's a 10-4 Aurelia using your ulti to just trade a kill onto a Sejuani. You don't want to trade yourself versus the tank on the Chiefs lineup. He just had to do it to not lose the base.
He has to assassinate Raze. Like, that's where, yes, no one else can get to Raze, especially with the fact that Udapon used his flash really greedy in the fight just before that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just saw that Raze was able to sit there, kind of turret up, and just try and machine gun people down. He even got Destiny to eat him into the base, so he could continue that damage. You can see now 2,000 gold nearly for the AD carry of the Chiefs. Starting to very much ramp up into the late game stages where AD carries were always king.
2,000 gold in the top lane as well. Swiper now in this matchup has absolutely turned it around. Evie, Gargoyle Stoneplate on a tank is a good item to try and get yourself back into the game. Of course, you can just pop that button and you get a whole lot of value out in the middle of a team fight if the timing is perfect. We're 7 seconds away from the second Baron spawning of the game, and everyone's going to be wrestling for control.
The problem is once again, I don't know who Evie really runs towards. Raze is going to still shred him with the build he's gone. You know, he doesn't want anything really to do. As charge once again comes out.
Go in with that charge. Who are they actually searching for? It looks like they're just going straight into the base.
Babbitt?
Not going to be able to find anything. Babbitt could actually get caught out for the moment. They're chasing him down. That's going to be the pillar. The Chains of Corruption connected. Now it looks like Chiefs are going to look to turn the fight around. Steel's already half health. The redemption comes out. But in comes Udapon. Another massive Hemo play. But he is just instantly deleted. Instantly shut down. Vivid is so low. And Chiefs trying to turn it around. As Seros has managed to get himself a kill. A shutdown and a dive. It's a double kill. DFM get control of the Baron.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Raze has to recall, still has teleport. If they go for Baron here, Raze will go for the end. You can see that they are caught between a rock and a hard place. But once again, if you get 4 recalls here,
they're going for
potentially the
maybe
Chiefs
the
go
reset.
for it.
Can they get a pick? Ooh, Evie?
Evie didn't actually...
Ray's teleported? What?
Okay. Well, Ray's actually, he's dead here.
Yeah, 9 times 80 carry, please. Yeah,
oh, no, maybe?
What?
What? Ray's? That was monstrous! And still might go down. He's so low.
He could have flashed and nearly end the game there. If he had killed Steel, he had the creeps to be able to do it.
You just said 9 times 80 carry and he almost 1v2s under the Nexus. Chiefs now in firm positioning. They cancelled 2 of the bases. If that's 3 people, if there's a Mundo, maybe Rays can't do that. Maybe
They
he just
can
gets
do Baron
chased down,
right now.
but now they have control over Baron.
Steel needs to make a miracle happen, but he doesn't have that flash. There is no execute, like you said. Swiper's going to teleport in. And it just looks like DFM are just going to have to gift this over. They cannot contest Baron Nashor.
I mean, every single little 50-50 or 60-40 has somehow gone the Chiefs' way this game. They've got an 11-5 Aurelia.
The home buff.
There is no such thing as a home buff.
Well, there's clearly magic is
like
happening right now.
Most Australians would absolutely disagree with you there, Jeff.
Vietnam lost in Vietnam.
They did. Japan won. But unfortunately, for them right now, not winning this game. Baron buff picked up by the Chiefs. Double Ocean, Infernal Drake. We talked about the scaling is in the favor of the more traditional composition from the Chiefs. That Infernal only makes it worse. And now they have a broken base. They're just all going bot.
Can't believe he didn't flash him for that double kill, man. That was like game. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Looks like now, like you said, Chiefs are sending 4 members bot lane. You have got Swiper just working those supers into that mid as well, so there's always another lane of pressure away from where Chiefs are as well.
And it looked like they're trying to sit around the corner, wait for someone to go up to the wave, but they just Baroned up the wave there. Everybody knows what's happening. Maybe just buying time to stack up multiple so they can siege.
That's what they're doing, is they're trying to get multiple cannon creeps in there before it crashes. It's very hard to hold Baron up creep waves. But once again, the wave clear from either of these teams, not really all that great, so turret will fall.
Udapon has flash. If he can get a good flash Hemoplague, that is the only way the DFM can find a good team fight for themselves. But even so, Chiefs now are just like you said, they hit that late game scaling. They're now starting to look very, very scary.
It just has to be the one shot. It has to be onto Ryoma before he can get his Zonyas. They have to kill Swiper. They just have to blow up Raze. But with all the summoners available, with that Zonya, it's so incredibly hard, but there is always the potential.
And Raze is just about to get GA back as well. So even if you do get the burst on him, he's just going to come back up.
And this is interesting. The Chiefs haven't actually shoved in midway. They're playing it incredibly slow. Swiper just sitting around the wall, out of vision, trying to bait DFM in. They know they have control of the bot side jungle. If DFM see Swiper go off into fog, they maybe think they have an opportunity of 4v5, but he's just hanging around the corner, just shepherding the rest of his team through bot.
And Raze was just waiting for his GA. You can see as soon as he got it now, he's walking up with the creep wave. Will be a little bit more aggressive here.
Finding.
It's onto Babip. He's very, very tanky. Stun will come out from Aurelia. But that cannon minion's just free-firing away and no one can contest it. That will be the tier 3 falling in the bot lane. Super's starting to work their way into the mid side. And an exposed inhibitor here bot side.
And they have to go soon. If they don't go, they're going to have super creeps in mid lane. They're going to have Swiper in behind them in the base. And once again, their engage tools are not all that great. They really have Udapon flying at people to start this fight off.
Well, there's an inhib up in mid, so there's no supers to deal with. It looks like DFM a little bit split on if they want to go for the fight or if they just want to defend for the moment, but Chiefs are quite happy in this situation.
They're just playing it incredibly slow. The Tormented Soil, is going onto the cannon time and time again, but that's a support Morgana with virtually no AP. The cannon is MVP for the Chiefs here. They haven't actually hit the turret. They haven't hit the inhib. They're just slowly walking it in.
It's that slow and steady game coming out from the Chiefs. Now they're stepping forward. Now they're looking to try and get some damage onto that inhibitor. Look at Raze. He is just melting through it. There is just nothing they can do to contest it. But here comes Udapon. Has still got that Hemoplague available. Charge comes out onto Evie. He's popped himself the Stone Plate, but it looks like the fight's going down. Hemoplague lands onto 4 members, but it's getting turned around. That's Ryoma with 1. Shiraz goes into the back. He's trying to get that execution down. He is so low. The stuns are there. He goes in and resurrects as long with Raze. Udapon's in the blood pool and he does get his way out, but it looks like Swiper is on the side, is on the flank. Ryoma comes up as well. Can't quite get the hand down, can't quite get the snare. But Chiefs come out with a team fight win and they're looking to push towards the base.
They certainly are, but we've seen this bite them in the bum before. That is going to be Udapon going down.
Udapon is dead and now it is just Steel, it is just Evie looking to defend, and Chiefs at 37 minutes dominantly take down Detonation.
And it was back and forth. So many times either team had control of the game. We mentioned all the 50-50 coin flips seemed to ever so slightly go into Chiefs' favor, and scaling, it just got to that point. The one-shot composition, the Aurelia, the Vladimir, the lineup for Chiefs was just too tanky. That in-game team fight, they could not find the picks and ultimately got wiped. Yeah,
and I think that constantly team fighting the Chiefs, not really the smartest thing I've seen a team do. They are a team that likes to get scrappy, likes to brawl. They do play very high-tempo games. And I think that Detonation Focus Me had control of that early game. If they had to just lower the pace of it, you know, going into their 1-3-1, at one point, they had like a 7-3 Aurelia. They would have been able to rip the game apart and really break up the map, but they kept grouping, and the Chiefs just kept winning team fights.
Because if you think how that started, that was the late invade onto the red buff, and the entire top side from the Chiefs was just being incredibly suffocated time and time again, gank after gank that some of them were successful, but they didn't even need to be successful because Swiper was constantly just hiding under his turret for the early parts, and eventually Chiefs, with those team fights, able to turn it around.
I mean, Raze really came alive towards the end of that game. He was just untouchable. He was playing very well in those team fights, and it just felt like Destination, after 20 minutes, couldn't seem to like get a fight go in their favor at all.
Well, the Chiefs picked a bottom lane purely based on late game performance. Like, as we said, Varus and Tahm Kench are not going to do all that much during the laning phase. They're going to be able to ult around the map, have some pressure. They do have okay gank setup, given the fact that, you know, CC ultimate coming out of Varus. But really, they picked that because Varus late game is still nearly unrivaled, has percentage health damage, has a fantastic kit in that regard. And that really showed that when he got to 4 items, he was unstoppable.
And it's absolutely obscene talking about the rest of the composition as well. The Varus obviously does so much damage, but you have a Swain that's just like buying you time in the backside. He's a nuisance. You have a Kled, another nuisance champion. So in terms of a game that's just so heavily prioritized on target selection for DFM, they just had so many mimics running around, and then the one threat that dealt all the damage.
And you could run through 2 of the champions on Detonation Focus Me and not really care. If Trundle at that stage of the game doesn't really do all that, Mundo doesn't do all that much, whereas every single member on the Chiefs was a threat that you had to take down. And I think that that was, you know, what ultimately led to the Chiefs getting ahead in those fights.
Well, I mean, with that, Chiefs are going to be the first team to get a win here at Rift Rivals, my Australian casters. Very, very happy with that one. We'll be back with Game 2 after a short break, so don't go anywhere. Was a massive hero blade. A charge is coming through, and that's going to be one already in the side of Detonation. It's a 2-for-2 fight already. Destiny's forced to flash out, and he gets taken down. There's a triple kill onto the Aurelia, and he's still going. He's still hungry for more. Ryoma's going to go down. It's not quite the Quadra yet, but he looks like he's going to be able to get it. He's shut down. There's going to be redemption. Rydoma able to pick himself up one onto Steel. It's going to be two back for the Chief, and Australia are starting to come alive. Seros dives straight onto the back and shuts down two instantly into a double kill. He's gone in for a triple kill. He's going again, baby. Let's see if he can get any more. Swiper's pumping that damage out. He's just about to get it in time. Watch for Seros on that end. Still has that Vanguard's edge. He's going to throw it down and dive straight into the fight. I don't even know who's winning this at the moment, as Ryoma's managed to find himself a double kill. He's still going for more. They've managed to finally shut down the Aurelia, and this time Chiefs are the ones in command of the fight.
That is going to be Utapon going down.
Utapon is dead, and now it is just Steel. It is just Evie looking to defend, and Chiefs at 37 minutes dominantly take down Detonation.
G'day and welcome back to Rift Rivals. We just saw the Chiefs Esports Club pick up the first victory of the tournament for Oceania. Hello everyone, I'm Jake Spawn Tiberi. Joining me is Bryce Agent Paul, as well as Zach Rusty Pie. How was your flight? Everything going all right? You feeling good, mate?
I'm here. I'm barely breathing, but I'm definitely excited to get to League of Legends.
Nice
We need a
and
rhythm.
rested.
Oh, yeah, more rested than you would ever imagine. Not at all, actually.
And what did you think of game number 1, Oceania coming out swinging?
I mean, I'm happy to see Oceania win. I'm sure I can't speak as happy as you guys would be to see that one, but it was a very messy win at that, so I'm not sure if that's the Chiefs' best performance. I look forward to improvements from both teams.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely back and forth. You know, that was like C2 versus C3. We're now like C2 versus C2. Now we're like C3 versus C3, so...
Yeah.
Is it going to get messier and messier? Are we going to have more exciting games?
I mean, potentially, however, before we do... Oh, actually, let's go through the lineup settings, because it is going to be Mineski taking on Unsold Stuff Gaming. Mineski, of course, 3rd seed from the Southeast Asia Tour, and it's going to be USG coming from the LJL. And both these teams have been on the international stage before. Both of them were at last year's Rift Rivals. What do you got for me, fellas?
I mean, Mineski is just a beloved name from Worlds way back, Season 2, Season 3?
Yeah,
Season 3.
Way back then, different roster, but just a long-time name in the Southeast Asian scene.
Yeah, definitely agree. 3rd seed versus 3rd seed, though, like you mentioned before. So not the 2013 Mineski that we saw.
It certainly isn't. However, before we do get into this next game, we have an interview with Nick Boy as well as Chiefs mid laner Ryoma.
I'm here with the Chiefs mid laner, Ryoma. Mate, congratulations on the win. Does it feel good to put that stamp down early?
Yeah, it feels really good against Seros. Like, I think he's a really good mid laner, and I think he played really, really well. And yeah.
And when the game started, it looked like that DFM were clearly targeting the top side of the map. Was this something you were expecting?
Yeah, that's pretty much OPL in a nutshell. Yeah, so I think we just had to like cut bleeding top, and like we kind of let DOS do his own thing, and yeah, we came out on top with the 4, like us as a 4 and DOS the 1. Swiper the 1.
Yeah, Swiper was playing amazing all game, as were you. And it also looked like there was a situation where every time we went into team fights, it just felt, from a viewer perspective, 50-50. Like, there was some scrappy stuff going on. How was it from your guys?
Well, as our previous coach said, like, we're the 50-50 kings. Like, we just take 50-50 team fights and hope we come out on top.
And is the preparation going into that, is there a sort of situation where you're expecting that to be the outcome, or are you going, we have, you know, ultimately we're building towards, you got so tanky there towards the end that it felt like you were taking it? Because everyone was down to like 10% health most of the time.
I think we felt like we had the scaling on them. Like, we knew Aurelia was already at her strongest point. Like, when she hit Triforce Therax, we were just like, we just gotta play our game, and then like we just kite back when she goes in, and then we peel Quinn, and then like Quinn just one-shot Aurelia, and we won.
And so now, what's the plan heading forward? You got those jitters out, you're able to relax, do a little focus, and just watch the rest of the games?
Yeah, we have one more game coming up, so we want to prep for that, and yeah, we just want to see we just want to scout what other teams do, and how we can turn it into our own play.
Fantastic.
Swell. Great. Spot on. I don't know what else to say.
Marvelous.
Certainly is. However, of course, it's good to see Ryoma. Obviously,